Bill Maher did a New Rules segment on PC anger over Halloween costumes. Let's watch and then we'll break it down.
The internet and magazines are littered with articles scolding people, like the Huffington Post's list of frighteningly ignorant costumes, which includes the completely benign sexy nurse. Now, I never got the whole sexy nurse thing because, really, who's that horny when you're in the hospital? Thanks for wiping my ass, nurse, and while you're back there. But who is it offending? Us Weekly recently published a list of past celebrity costume transgressions, like the time Chris Brown dressed as a Taliban. Like that's the worst thing he ever did. The Taliban should be wearing Chris Brown costumes. And remember when the internet lost its mind over this getup? Now, it's not a great costume. She looks less like Crazy Eyes and more like John Boehner. But what's the big deal? Same with all the costumes on the buzzkill shit list, like Mariachi. Mariachis themselves are wearing a costume. Do you think most Mexicans wear sombreros and sequined suits? No, just the ones who play that horrible music when you're trying to eat. Another one, they hate geisha. Oh, who is that going to offend? The geisha who lives in the apartment upstairs? There's 12 geishas in the whole world, and they're all in Kyoto. They're never going to find out you dressed like them at the office party in Irvine. And of course, you're absolutely not supposed to dress as a supermodel. Another one that do-gooders really hate is hobo, which they think offends the homeless. But a hobo isn't a homeless person. He's a classic character of American folklore, a loafer who survives by doing as little as possible. I believe the modern term for it is snowboarder. And anyway, if I was a bum, I'd be thrilled someone wanted to dress up as me. They have bigger problems. When your life is begging strangers for food, every day is Halloween. You can get outraged over any costume if you try hard enough. Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz may seem innocent, but isn't it insensitive to people who get caught in twisters? Or vampires. Haven't the good people of Transylvania been stereotyped enough? Remember, Drac Lives Matter. And here's the point. Banning a hobo costume doesn't make the homeless feel better. It makes you feel better. This is the lazy liberalism in which scolding has become a substitute for actually doing something.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think that's a false dichotomy, because that's oftentimes the counter-argument people have said to me on similar issues. Like, no, I can't just do both. Why can't you actually do something to fight homelessness and then also get mad if somebody dresses up like a homeless person? Yeah, but that actually doesn't happen. In real life, the people who are complaining about a homeless person costume or anything else, they're typically not doing shit to actually help homeless people. They just want to do, as Bill Maher rightly points out, lazy liberalism and do slacktivism from their couch to make themselves feel good, when in reality they've become social authoritarians. And the problem is, as Bill Maher goes on to lay out in the rest of the rant there, you guys don't even realize you'd be creating more conservatives by acting like that. You know, there's the rise of this new, somewhat new movement, I guess you could say. They call them the Cultural Libertarians, where it's the people who are right-leaning on economics and left-leaning on economics, who on social issues totally agree, where they say, stop fucking controlling people's lives in a social context. And, you know, there's control of people's lives, unfortunately, in a social context from both the right and the left. I wouldn't say it's equal. I think there's much more control from the right, and it's much more damaging, and numerically it's a lot more, and we can go on and on. But it does exist on the left, and as somebody who is on the left, certainly in America, when I see people on the left flirting with or just flat out being authoritarians in some respects, it drives me fucking nuts, because it's like, hey, jackass, you missed the point. You missed the whole point of being a liberal. Okay, so it's not a false dichotomy. What he's saying is true. This is the lazy version of liberalism. It makes me feel good. It doesn't make homeless people feel good if you tell somebody to not dress up like a homeless person. It doesn't make them feel good. It makes you feel good. And you can actually, instead of wasting your time yelling at people on Twitter about shit that doesn't matter, go fucking volunteer at a homeless shelter or some shit if you really care about the issue. And if you're just pretending to care about the issue by doing the lazy version of activism, then do us all a favor and shut the fuck up. Because you are acting in an authoritarian way when you say, oh, that offends me, that offends me. No, Bill's right when he says you can look at any costume and there is an argument there, with varying degrees of believability, but there is an argument for almost every costume as to why that's offensive. You know, hey, this person dressed like a construction worker. Oh, you're a misogynist? I mean, construction workers are known to whistle at the hot ladies as they walk by, so I guess you're a misogynist by wearing that costume. You name the costume, I can give you some kind of an argument that would, show you outrage, and you're crazy if you don't think there's some percentage of people out there, yes, on the left, who would sign on to it the second that you utter any argument that, says this thing is offensive or that thing is offensive. I'm done with the offensive, like the whole concept, the idea of I'm offended. That should be out the window, because all that matters is the thing true or is it not true? Or if we're talking about something that's just all in good fun and jokes, then almost everybody should get a pass. Now, that's not to say, guys, that, you're not allowed to say, that's in poor taste and here's why. The problem only becomes when you call for censorship. Okay, that's probably the biggest problem, is when people start calling for censorship, as they do, or they spend all day on it. These are the things that, when you are so outraged by a costume or a joke that you spend more time tweeting about that than war, or actual homelessness, or extreme poverty, or any other money in politics, any other important issue, then that's a problem, and you're part of the problem. But again, I have no problem. So you could say to if somebody dresses like there were Trayvon Martin costumes a few years ago. Okay, well, I know because I participated and I said, look, that's in poor taste and here's why. If somebody wears a Hitler costume, terrible, terrible taste, here's why, you explain it. But the problem only becomes when you start saying, censor it, or I'm going to spend all day on this and neglect all the other issues that matter. I oftentimes talk about political correctness in the context of right-wingers using it to hide behind it, where they invoke political correctness so that they can get away with just being incorrect. They can get away with saying things that are factually not true, and they don't want anybody to counter their bullshit. So they say, why are you being politically correct? Guys, that's a different thing than this, which is genuine political correctness, which is people going way too far in this attempt to micromanage society to not hurt people's feelings. The true liberal position is free speech, free expression above all else, even above like, hey, this person's offended, that person's offended. Okay, you get to be offended. You get to tell the person, hey, that's in poor taste. But when you go further than that, then you're the problem, and you're no longer a liberal leftist. Then you become an authoritarian leftist. And authoritarian leftism is, the bane of the left, the people on the left who we should all oppose, because they do make many people who are good people turn to conservatism because they see the outrage over every minor little thing and they go, I can't associate with them. Let me go with these other guys, not even realizing that they're signing up for a shitty economic policy, a shitty idea on war and corruption and all the other stuff.